Before we make this official, I have a couple demands. I need to be able to tape my podcast. I don't know when minicamp is, but I'll need to miss that. And I will also need the authority to fire you.
Man, a need is just a want that you haven't earned yet. Would you get me to 500? Boy, you got a deal.
Aaron Rodgers shocks NFL fans. His stunning decision changes everything he was done, or so everyone thought. After a brutal stint in New York and rumors swirling about retirement, Aaron Rodgers has just flipped the entire NFL upside down. No one expected this. Not the fans, not the analysts, not even the Jets, because the future Hall of Famer just made his next move. And it's not just unexpected. It's borderline unbelievable. But to understand why this matters so much and why the league should be on notice, we need to rewind to where things went off the rails. When the New York Jets signed Aaron Rodgers in 2023, it felt like the beginning of a movie. A legend leaves his longtime team to take one last shot at glory. The headlines wrote themselves: Super Bowl hopes, championship mentality, a stacked defense, and finally, a real quarterback. And then, 4 plays. That's all it took. Rodgers' Achilles snapped in week 1, and just like that, the entire season unraveled. What was supposed to be a championship year turned into chaos, finger-pointing, and failure. He did return the next season, healthy, determined, and yet, it still didn't work. The Jets stumbled to a 5-12 record. The locker room fractured. Fans gave up, and the franchise quietly moved on. For the first time in his career, Aaron Rodgers was a man without a team, and maybe without a purpose. The moment Rodgers became available, the league held its breath. But it wasn't like years past. This time, the hype wasn't there. Teams weren't jumping to sign him. Why? Because nobody knew if he even wanted to play. Behind the scenes, teams were wary. Retirement was a very real possibility. Rodgers hadn't committed publicly, and after the Jets' debacle, some wondered if the fire was still there. He wasn't just a free agent, he was a question mark, and that made everyone hesitate, except one team. While teams like the Giants, Raiders, and Seahawks made aggressive moves for new quarterbacks, one franchise stayed unusually quiet: the Pittsburgh Steelers. No splashy signings, no blockbuster trades. And when the NFL draft came around, they waited until the 6th round to draft a QB, Ohio State's Will Howard. It didn't make sense, unless they had something big in the works, because behind closed doors, Rodgers and the Steelers were talking. On March 28th, he met with head coach Mike Tomlin and called it productive. Reports now confirm what fans suspected: contract terms had been quietly worked out for months. The media missed it. The league overlooked it. But Rodgers knew where he was going. And now, it's official. On the surface, it's not acquiring DK Metcalf from Seattle in a bold win-now deal. Rodgers will now throw to one of the most physically dominant receivers in the league. He'll also have tight end Pat Freiermuth, veteran receiver Robert Woods, speedster Calvin Austin, and a young backfield led by Jalen Warren and rookie Caleb Johnson. Rodgers turns 42 in December. This isn't about a 5-year plan. This is the last ride. He knows the critics are circling. Some say he's washed, others say he's lost the drive. But Rodgers has made a career out of proving people wrong. In his final 10 games with the Jets, he quietly threw 18 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions, all while battling injuries. Now, he's healthy, focused, and walking into a system designed for him. But the window is tight. If it doesn't click fast, it could spiral fast. There's no time to settle in. It's either win now or disappear. From legend to liability to redemption, it's wild to think about. Just a few years ago, Rodgers was the NFL's reigning MVP, twice, the face of the Packers, a quarterback who made throws no one else could. Then came the drama, the exit, the fall. New York wasn't just a rough patch. It was a full-blown collapse. Injuries, locker room tension, media blow-ups. His reputation took hit after hit. Now, in Pittsburgh, he has a chance to rewrite the ending. He doesn't need another MVP. He doesn't even need a Super Bowl. He just needs to remind the world who he is. And if he can take this Steelers team back to the playoffs or beyond, everything changes. So, what happens now? Rodgers is flying to Pittsburgh to sign the deal. He's expected to join minicamp next week. And by all accounts, he's locked in. There's been buzz about him playing for just $20 million this season, an unheard-of bargain for a quarterback of his caliber. That's not a retirement mindset. That's a prove-it contract. This isn't a fade into retirement. This is a fire lit under a man with something left to say. He's not doing interviews. He's not doing commercials. He's just showing up. And that might be the most dangerous version of Aaron Rodgers we've seen in years. Some players ride into the sunset. Others get pushed out. But every once in a while, a legend comes back one last time. Not because he has to, but because he chooses to. That's what this is. Aaron Rodgers has